All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
You can? Okay, perfect. So like Greg said, we've been in Worthington for about 4 years now. We're just starting off our 5th year. And then, so we service here in Worthington community and as well as Kemper House in Worthington. So today we're going to talk about the COVID-19 vaccine. We'll talk about how the actual COVID-19 gets transmitted from person to person. We'll describe the symptoms and potential complications of the infection. We'll also review the COVID-19 vaccine from the 2 specific trials, the Pfizer and the Moderna trial, since those are the only 2 ones currently approved yet, and there's more coming down the pipeline. We'll explain how the vaccine itself works. I'll kind of talk about how it differs from your regular flu vaccine that you get every year. And then we'll conclude with how the state's plan is distributing the vaccine out to Ohio residents. Since each state is doing it differently, I'll kind of go over with what the state of Ohio is doing to roll out the vaccine. Just to some definition, you'll hear the words SARS-CoV-2 and then COVID-19. SARS-CoV-2 is actually the syndrome with the coronavirus or the virus itself, and then the COVID-19 is like the disease of it. So coronavirus is not anything new. It's been around for a very long time. The 2019 strain is what we're having challenges with figuring out, and it's causing all these conditions in folks that we don't have a treatment. We did not have a treatment for till the vaccines came out. So the 19 strain has been, because it was found discovered in 2019. All right, so why do we care? So this data, to kind of give you guys an idea, is up as of January 27th of this year. Globally, there's been over 100 million cases reported, which has led to about 2 million deaths, and it's affected in 222 countries around the world. So it's a pretty significant pandemic. In the United States, we have seen about a quarter of those cases, about 25 million cases in the United States, with about greater than 425,000 deaths, and it's in every single state in the US. Ohio, we have seen about 870,000 reported cases, a little over 10,000 deaths, and greater than 45,000 hospitalizations. One good trend that we are seeing right now, as Greg said, as more people are getting vaccinated, we are starting to see the hospitalization numbers starting to come down, so which is a very good sign. I was talking to a physician who works with COVID patients, and they said the biggest challenge for them is space. As long as they have space in hospitals, they're able to treat the virus pretty well. So if the hospitalizations are coming down, that's a very good sign that we're trending in the right direction. How does it spread? The primary route of spread is close contact. And in the next slide, we'll kind of show kind of what a close contact means. It could be droplets that are produced through coughing, sneezing, talking, breathing. So that's why the mask mandate you see going up everywhere, it's just to protect those. Obviously not protect you, but also others. Airborne transmission as well, with the small droplets that linger around in the air. Sometimes it's shown it's only there for a few minutes. Sometimes it's been there for a few hours. So they have seen that. It rarely spreads between humans and animals. If you have pets, they have found coronavirus in pets, but it's not, the reason is between, they don't show it's because of humans transmitting it to the animals or vice versa. What do they call close contact? CDC defines close contact as anyone within 6 feet for at least 15 minutes. So that's considered a close contact. Those that are quarantined, in a small living spaces. So for example, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, college dorm rooms, prisons, homeless shelters. Those are all close quartered areas that has a higher transmission, and those that travel in areas that have high number of cases. There are quite a few disease-related risk factors associated with it. Older age, cancer. We'll go over the next slide and kind of break that down a little bit as well. What are the symptoms? COVID symptoms are basically same as any flu symptom. So you'll feel fever or chill, cough, headache, shortness of breath, tiredness, nausea, sore throat. One different thing that COVID has is a new loss of taste or smell. So I can tell you, my wife and I both had COVID the first week of January, and we both ended up losing our taste and smell. I seem to have got it back pretty well, and then I think my wife is almost there. So it does come back once the virus goes away. When do you seek an emergency medical attention? It's obviously when you're having trouble breathing or chest pain. COVID can also cause confusion as well. So when you're getting that, somebody's not there to take care of you. So you want to make sure that you seek medical emergency attention in those scenarios. What are the complications with COVID? Some of the secondary complications are other infections or pneumonia. A lot to do with if people get hospitalized, there's a chance that they can pick up something else from the hospital. Clot or stroke. One thing that when they tested the COVID patients they had is people were developing clots in their legs. So if you have COVID and you get like this sharp pain or dull pain in your legs, that could be potential that that may be a clot developing. In those cases, a lot of folks in the hospital gets put on blood thinner in order to help with that. Can get rash, obviously confusion, like with cognitive impairment, anxiety, depression. I actually had muscle and joint pain as well, and I was very lethargic when I had it. So there'll be times where I just didn't feel like doing anything. So you get that as well. Preventions, obviously we talked about keeping the distance. So 6 feet is about 2 arm lengths. So if you are about 6 feet away, that usually prevents it from the droplets to transmit from one place to another. Obviously washing your hands regularly for at least 20 seconds. Sometimes I can tell you my daughter, I don't think she understands what 20 seconds is. She was just washing. So you don't really need a lot of washing, but 20 seconds is good. So you kind of just, people say use a birthday song or whatnot. So it gives you right about 20 seconds to get those. Big thing is you'd be amazed how many times we touch our eyes, nose, and mouth. So make sure we're kind of not doing that, keeping a whereabouts about that. Cleaning areas that are highly touched. And then obviously wearing masks. There's 2 things you'll hear with COVID is isolation and quarantine. So they're a little bit different on what they mean. Isolation usually means that you were confirmed that you had COVID-19. So the recommendation is that you stay at home in isolation for at least 10 days from your start of your symptoms. The quarantine means that you don't have a confirmed diagnosis, and then in those cases, it's recommended that you stay home for at least 14 days in quarantine, because it takes, once you get exposed to coronavirus, it can take about almost 2 weeks to start even seeing the symptoms. So if after 14 days you don't have any symptoms, that usually means that you weren't exposed. All right, so a little bit on how they do the trial. So, sorry, I want to kind of go over what it entails to find any medication, just not vaccines. So the FDA has 3 different phases of trials. So they have phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. In phase 1, all they're doing is whatever compound or chemical that the manufacturer is researching, all they're doing is it safe for us to use? So that's the number one thing. A very small group of people, 20 to 80 participants that take into that trial. Once they determine that that compound is safe, they go to phase 2. In phase 2, there are about 100 to 300. This is a typical standard drug discovery trial. Phase 2, they will continue with the safety, make sure it's safe, but they'll try the different dose levels, 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams, 30 milligrams, to see at what dosing is appropriate and safe. And phase 3, which is your largest trial, which is about 300 to 3,000 participants in the trial, they measure both safety and efficacy. So one thing you see consistently in all phases is safety. Safety is the number one priority. There are independent safety committees. If they see any kind of safety issue, they will go ahead and pull the trial back, or the manufacturer will have to modify the trial. The phase 1 to 3 can take anywhere from 3 to 15 years to go through that process. Actually, but probably 3 is probably on the low end. It takes a long time for it to do that. And then there's also a phase 4, which is post-approval, meaning once the drug is approved, they still monitor for safety and possibly other feedback that they may get from adverse events of taking the medication. So those are usually your standard phases. And we'll go over specifically what Pfizer and Moderna did with their trials. So the government started at the Operation Warp Speed. I'm sure you heard that in the news. The goal was to produce 300 million doses of vaccine by January 2021. Obviously, we're behind on that number, but that was a very optimistic goal to do that. Normally, our government for a vaccine bill, vaccine funding, they fund anywhere from 30 to $70 million. But for COVID vaccine, they have contributed $10 billion towards it. And that's why the trial took so much less time versus your typical standard trials, which takes years and years to go through the phases. The European Commission actually put another 8 billion. So just with the government support, it was contributed to be $18 billion. And that doesn't even include Pfizer, because Pfizer actually funded their own trial themselves. So that trial was not funded with the government money. That was a private money through the company itself. Obviously, in the whole warp speed, you had HHS, CDC, and NIH all were actively involved in rolling it out. Some vaccine basics. Vaccines are safe and effective at preventing infection. I was telling Greg earlier, your flu vaccine, it's about 60% effective. And we'll kind of go over how effective the coronavirus vaccines are. We have obviously with vaccine eliminated diseases like smallpox. They work on our immune system to produce antibodies to fight the virus. And traditionally, vaccines are used to kill weak germs in order to create an immune response without causing the infection. So some of the flu vaccines will have not live vaccine, but it'll have like basically a dead virus, and they give you very small doses so your body can, you don't get sick from it, but your body will create those antibodies to fight those. But any vaccine can create a low-grade fever. That's just an immune response by your body to a foreign object. In this case, a foreign object is a vaccine. The Pfizer and Moderna is very specific vaccine, as in they're an mRNA. So they're not traditional like a flu type vaccine. They are, mRNA is a protein. Basically, it's a message that your cells get to make a protein to fight or trigger an immune response. So when they give you the vaccine, it's basically sending a message to your cells, hey, make these things, so when I get infected, I'm gonna fight it. So it's very specific to that. So that's what the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine is. It's actually not the vaccine, it's not the virus itself. It's just a message that is given to your cells to produce those proteins to, or memory or antibodies to kind of fight the vaccine. They've been studied for a very, very long time. They do not contain, like I said, the live virus. They do not carry a risk of causing the disease, and they do not affect a person's DNA. So it does not go and change your DNA and change you to somebody else, but it's just a message that gives your cells to tell them to produce a certain protein. Those are called spike proteins. And that's what they're called. They're called spike protein that's created. So the COVID-19 exposure without the vaccine will take about days to weeks for your body to create that. When you get the vaccine, it's pretty much, you get protection pretty quickly. It takes about 12 days to see the full benefit of it. And then for Pfizer and Moderna virus, Moderna, their vaccine after the first dose, you're about 50%, 52% covered. And after the second dose, you're about 95, 96% effectiveness. So they're very, very effective. And these are like the little spike protein that I was mentioning that creates by your cells. All right, so to break down the trial, so the Pfizer trial, it started in late July. The recruitment per participant was 12 years and older. Remember I said on a typical trial, it's 300 to 3,000 people. Pfizer enrolled more than 45,000 participants in this trial. So it is absolutely a massive trial. And then more than 43,000 people have received their second vaccination. It took over 150 clinical sites in 6 different countries. And demographics was as listed right there, with 49% female, 80% white, 9% black. So it was a pretty diverse demographic as well. So it's a pretty big trial, include a lot of sites and a lot of countries. Participants were randomly assigned 2 doses of COVID-19 vaccine versus just a saline injection. The injection was given in the arm, and they were actually observed for 30 minutes. And then side effects were reported through 6 months after the second dose, and then there is a 2-year follow-up. So after they got their second dose, Pfizer reached out to them again, and then there'll be another follow-up in 2 years to see how they're doing. Some of the side effects of the vaccine was mild to moderate pain at the site of injection, fatigue and headache from the vaccine, fever or chills. There were no deaths related to vaccine or placebo, and there were no COVID-19 associated deaths in those 45,000 people that had either vaccine or the saline shot. They did show 95% vaccine effectiveness after the two series. Like I said, after the first dose, they show 52% efficacy. FDA did approve for an emergency use on December 11th, so for 16 and older. So it still hasn't been approved for mass distribution. Right now, it's only approved as a emergency use authorization. Once their trial is complete, and then that time the FDA can make it a full-blown approval. So Moderna vaccine, again, enrollment kind of very similar to Pfizer. It was in July. Their participants were 18 years or and older. They enrolled over 30,000 participants. So again, a massive sites. They had about 100 sites in the US. And then that kind of goes over with you the demographics as well. So kind of similar demographics to what Pfizer saw as well that enrolled in the trial. Again, participants were assigned in a random 1-to-1 ratio. 2 doses were given 28 days apart. Injections similar to Pfizer with the arm. 6 months follow-up after the first dose, and then a 2-year plan after their second vaccination. Very similar side effect. They did see pain at injection site, redness, tenderness, fatigue, headache, muscle and joints. They didn't see as much as fever or chills with this one as they did with the Pfizer one. No deaths related to either COVID or the vaccine or placebo. They also showed about 95% efficacy, 100% for preventing severe COVID-19. And vaccine was effective basically in all the areas that the demographics were there. Again, they got an emergency use in December. Their study is still not complete, so they're still working through their phase 3 trials, but it is used as an emergency use at this point. To kind of put them side by side, Pfizer is approved for 16 and older versus Moderna, which is 18 and older. Pfizer is 21 days apart for first and second shot versus Moderna, which is 28. As you can see, the storage, Pfizer one is stored at negative 94 degrees versus Moderna, which is at negative 4 and up to in the standard freezer for up to 6 months. And then there's new one coming made by AstraZeneca pretty soon. So that one is going to be a single dose, just one dose, one time stored in the refrigerator. It is shown to be about 72% effective. So if you think about it, it feels a big drop from Pfizer and Moderna's 94, 95% effective, but compared to your flu shot, which is about 60%, it still is a pretty effective, and it's considered a pretty effective vaccine as well. And then the vials must be used within 2 hours once at room temperature for the Pfizer versus 12 hours for the Moderna. Again, side to side, very, very similar profile between each of them as far as effectiveness goes, demographics goes. It showed very similar trends in both. So CDC recommendation, you guys probably hear a lot right now in the news about the phases rollout, phase 1A, 1B, 1C, and phase 2. So phase 1 is basically healthcare personnel and long-term care facility residents. We're in the phase 1A rollout. 1B is 65 and older and non-healthcare frontline essential workers. Phase 1C is ages 65 through 74, and folks with 16 to 64 years old with high-risk medical condition falls in, and essential workers not included in 1B. And then the phase 2 will be anyone age 16 and 64 without any high-risk medical condition. So basically phase 2 is going to be everyone, like how you would get a flu shot, basically. One thing I do want to say is all vaccinated person, they should still continue to follow the guidelines like wearing masks, staying 6 feet apart, because you can still transmit it. Your body is just able to fight it better, but it doesn't mean that you can't transmit it to others if you were to have the vaccine. This is just a graph of what I just covered with the phase 1A through phase 2. So this was kind of the rollout that Ohio had done. I know availability is still challenging. I kind of follow the Columbus Public Health Facebook page, and there'll be times where they'll say, well, we have some vaccine available, and then literally a few hours later, they said they're completely out. So they're taking signups for the phase 1 rollout through Columbus Public Health. So if you go to coronavirus.ohio.gov, that's where you can sign up for phase 1A, 1B rollout. But they started on January 19th for 80 and older. January 25th, it was supposed to be 75 and older that is not in nursing homes or long-term care. And then February 1st, they started teachers and employees for schools and stuff. So, but it is right now, there are very limited phase 1A or 1B sites that are out to public. So usually right now, everyone's encouraged to go through coronavirus.ohio.gov, and I've told my parents to just go ahead and go online and keep checking it regularly to see whenever they qualify that they can sign up through that until it's more available on a global basis to everyone. These are just CDC recommendation. one thing is folks like who are pregnant or breastfeeding, they were not in the trial. So that's something that they said to refer to the doctor to see if that's something they should get. Um, uh, and persons with exposure to it, they're still recommended to get the vaccine. I believe CDC said that, I believe it said 90 days, but those stuff keeps changing. So I would have to look up to see what the newer guideline is. We are starting to see more variants coming out to COVID-19 vaccine. So there was a new strain in UK as well as South Africa as of right now. And then I think now even in Ohio has a new strain as well. They have not shown, they've been causing the spread faster, but it's the same symptoms. Vaccine still works against it. So same protocol that you do now, it's just that folks are getting it. Transmission has been a lot faster versus the initial strain of COVID-19. CDC did create a smartphone-based tool called vSafe, and you can register at vsafe.cdc.gov. That's where you can communicate with CDC, and once you get your vaccine, you can kind of report any kind of effects or side effects that you may get directly to CDC. So that was kind of nice that they created something to communicate directly with them. These are some additional resources you can go to, obviously CDC, National Institute of Health, and Ohio Department of Health. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Ripple. That was very good, very informative. It's a great presentation. Just to let you all know that I did record this, and so I will post this on our Facebook page. If you ever want to go back and click on it, it will be on YouTube, so you can view it again. I do have a couple questions here, Ripple, from the chat. The first one is there more reaction after the second vaccine than the first? If so, is Tylenol or ibuprofen recommended?
It is recommended. I mean, when first COVID came out, I think they said to go ahead and use Tylenol. So we've been recommending Tylenol if you get like headache or fever or anything like that. As far as side effects from the first dose versus the second dose, it's been individually based. So some folks had a reaction after the first one, but no reaction after the second one. I can tell you when I got my vaccine, I had a reaction with the second dose versus the first one. So definitely had the chills and fever. And after the second one and the first one, I didn't feel like I even got the vaccine. So it is individual dependent.
Yeah, there was a second question that was very similar to that they had the Moderna vaccine and had pain in their arm and couldn't sleep well that night, and just was once again asking if they could take Tylenol after the shot, and it sounds like that's recommended.
Yeah, the main thing you want to remember is the more you keep your hand active, you massage it, the quicker the soreness will go away. So just like a flu shot or shingles vaccine, you want to keep it active, and that will help you with the soreness.
Another thing, Ripple, was can you actually show the URL for the vSafe again so that they can jot that down? So it's www.vsafe.cdc.gov. And then, yeah, so one of the things that they were wondering was how long do you see each dose lasting? Do you have a projection on that?
No, I mean, right now, I don't think anything has come out to say how long it's going to be effective. Is it going to be, from what I've heard, they think it may be an annual thing as far as the vaccine goes, like your flu vaccine, but it's hard to say, and we don't know how much the coronavirus strain is going to change. So I think hopefully the more studies they do down the road, I think we'll know with the follow-ups and stuff from the trials.
Thank you. Another question is, between your first and your second vaccination, do they have to be the same vaccine, or can you sort of move between the two?
Uh, so I think it's recommended to be the same vaccine. I know UK had tried to use a different vaccine from the first one, so I'm not really sure as far as effectiveness goes. I know after the first dose, you're already, I mean, 52% effective already. So will the second one being a different one? It's not recommended by CDC unless that changes. I know they were even talking about a lower dose and see if a lower dose would be as effective. But as of right now, in the US, we're keeping the same first and second dose.
Yeah, awesome. Another question was, are both doses identical in terms of ingredients and dosage amount?
Yeah, it's the same exact vaccine between the first and the second, just like your shingles vaccine. It's a 2 series and but it's the same exact vaccine.
And if anybody wants to unmute and ask a question, we'd be willing to do that as well, or you can shoot it into the chat box. Sometimes if you're on a phone, it's hard to type it into the chat.
I have a question, sir.
Sure, please.
My name is Shirley. Can you hear me?
We sure
Yes.
can.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm calling in from a phone. That's why you don't see me. So I wanted to know in terms of, we are planning to travel out of state after the second vaccine. We're waiting for that one because we usually go to Florida for a little while in the winter. If we wait like 10 days after the second one, is that usually a safe amount of time? Would you say? I've been told anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks. And I guess, I mean, I know nothing's guaranteed, obviously, but, you know, if that's a fairly reasonable amount of time. And I guess the question would be if for some reason or other they decide to hold back on our second ones, even though we have appointments, you know, you keep hearing that they're going to try to get everybody their second ones. And then you hear, no, they really want everybody to get their first ones. So some of us may get delayed. I'm wondering what you're hearing about that and what is a safe amount of time, you know, if it does get delayed, how long is it okay for that to be done? Because we get a lot of mixed messages on that too. Thank you.
So I think your first question about 10 days, I think that is sufficient time. It takes about, from the first dose, it takes about 12 days or so to see the full benefit. So since you already had the first one and you're going with the second dose, I think 10 days should be sufficient. As far as I have not heard of any issues of people not getting their second dose so far. So as far as because it is a very specific 21 days and a 2 days, depending on which one you get, we have not seen any issue with the second dose yet. So I don't foresee that happening of you not getting the second dose. So I don't have a straight answer on that one, to be honest.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, I've heard some places are delaying it. I know they're doing it out of the United States. They're doing it like in the UK, and I've heard rumors that they might do that here because the vaccine companies have said it's okay to delay it for a little while. But I'm hoping that that doesn't happen to us. The pharmacy we got it with said so far they haven't heard that it would. So yeah, I do really appreciate that. And it's good to know that both dosages are the same in case we have to go to a different place. Right. So you know, as far as if we get the same one, of course. Yeah, and they should have given you a card, right? With your They did. Okay. Yes, we did get that, and they did call us with follow-up appointments. So I very much appreciate you guys doing this today. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Absolutely. I did want to show that you will receive a card after you get your second vaccination. So there might be a point where you need to show your card to get in certain events. So it's good to have it.
Oh, okay. So we should hang on to those, I guess.
Yeah, yes. With my passport. So.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Anybody else?
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining. If you want to see a version of it taped, you can go to our Facebook page at Kemper House, Central Ohio, and you can click on it and it'll take you right to the YouTube version of it. So you could share that with anybody that you think might benefit from it. But thank you all, and feel free to reach out to Ripple or I at any time if you have any questions or concerns.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
guys.
Ripple.
Thanks for
Thank you,
coming.
Greg.
Yeah,
We appreciate it very much.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great day.
Ripple, could you give your contact information, please? A phone number?
Yep, it's 614-392-0960. And that's
Thank you so much, sir.
pharmacy in Worthington. Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Enjoy the sunshine, everybody.
Thanks, you too.
Yes, no doubt. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks again for putting that on, sir.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. Glad to do it.